Ladies and gentlemen, Nicolas Cage is fucking back!
I'm Nick fucking! Whoa, okay!
Not that he ever went anywhere. Hello everybody, and welcome to my review of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And before you say anything, yes, I know this movie's been out for a while, and I know it probably would have made more sense to review it while it was still in theaters. But also, I don't care. I want to talk about it now. I had a great 4th of July weekend, and I hope the rest of you did as well, for those of you who celebrate it. And I just kind of wanted to come off that with a fun review with a movie that I just thoroughly enjoyed. And also, while I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and put a nice little Nick Cage counter right about here on the screen. Because yes, you're going to be hearing that name a lot during this review. Did you include the one from my intros? There it is. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent was directed by Tom Gormican and stars Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal in a movie about, well, Nicolas Cage, a down-on-his-luck actor who, after getting turned down for a huge movie role, accepts an offer of $1 million to attend a superfan's birthday party. Now, Nicolas Cage is an enigma, and he's obviously a very polarizing actor who's definitely hit some very high highs during his career with movies like Leaving Las Vegas, The Rock, Face Off, Con Air, just to name a few.
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
But he's also an actor who's been part of, let's say, some less than average films.
Look at that!
And he's just this actor that, when his name comes up in social circles, you don't hear a lot of people say like, oh yeah, Nicolas Cage, he's okay. People either love this man or they absolutely detest him. And me personally, I've always been a fan of his over-the-top, sometimes ridiculous style of acting. And when I heard about Massive Talent, my first thought was, they literally could not have picked a better actor to center this type of meta movie around. Followed by my next thought, which was, God, I hope this isn't a train wreck. And after seeing this movie once in theaters, and again recently by streaming it, I have to be honest. This movie is fucking awesome.
Javi gonna want me to,
I am Javi.
Nick Cage.
Now, if you're somebody who doesn't enjoy Nicolas Cage's particular brand of acting,
I didn't know you smoke cigars, babe, particularly Louis Brand.
or you're somebody who isn't familiar with his filmography, this might not necessarily be the movie for you, because there are a lot of callbacks and references to previous films that he's done. But that being said, I would still encourage anybody to watch this movie, as there is a ton of great comedy in here, regardless of some of the references that might go over your head. Massive Talent is a movie that so easily could have gone another direction and felt more like self-serving or arrogant, but it's the exact opposite. It's more of a meta, self-aware action comedy movie where not only does this man acknowledge how ridiculous he can be at times, but he has no issues poking fun at himself. And somehow, it feels like this perfect amalgamation of every Nicolas Cage movie all rolled into one. In a lot of ways, this film truly is a love letter to him. It's just a love letter that he happens to star in. But this movie begins in Los Angeles as sort of a day-in-the-life type film, perhaps a slightly exaggerated version of that. But if you saw Nicolas Cage yelling lines for a director in a public place, or talking to himself in his car, would it really be that shocking? Anyways, it starts with this creatively unfulfilled actor getting down for this huge role, and in turn accepting this $1 million offer to attend a superfan's birthday party in order to pay off his debts and retire from acting. But somehow throughout the movie, it gets to the point where he's working for the CIA and trying to rescue his kidnapped daughter. It all makes sense in the movie, I swear. So with all that being said, I'm gonna jump right into my positives with massive talent. And positive number 1 is the man himself. Say what you will about his career, but there are very few actors that would want the responsibility or would be capable of playing this caricature, exaggerated version of themselves. But NICOLAS Cage knocks it out of the park. He's absolutely perfect in this role. And even though he's since called it the hardest role of his career, having to play this exaggerated version of himself, he was fantastic. Also, if he doesn't win Best Kiss of 2022, I'll riot. I'm not gonna give away who he kisses, but it's amazing. My next positive is gonna be that this movie is genuinely funny. Like, in a time where, at least in my opinion, great comedies are few and far between, this is exactly what the genre needed. Every actor just nails their roles. Even smaller parts, like Neil Patrick Harris, who plays Nicolas Cage's agent, he's absolutely hysterical.
It's not like he's gonna want you to suck his dick or fuck his wife or watch you watch him fuck his wife.
I wouldn't think so.
None of the jokes here felt out of place or forced. They just all landed. Like literally, every single joke in this movie made somebody laugh in my theater. And a lot of times I was one of those people. Now, a huge part of this was, of course, Nicolas Cage being his crazy self and really just committing to the jokes and the writing here in the script. But another big reason is gonna be my third positive, which is Pedro Pascal's performance and their on-screen chemistry. Going into this, I fully expected it to be ridiculous and over the top with the premise alone, but what I didn't expect was Pedro Pascal to be just as funny as Nicolas Cage, and one of the best bromances I've seen on screen in a long time. This is just a buddy comedy in every sense of the word, and honestly, if you didn't know any better, you would think these guys have been doing movies together for years. The chemistry and the comedic timing between them was just like spot on.
Are those my golden guns?
They're my golden guns.
I don't want to kill you.
You're the last person I want to kill.
I love you. I love you.
And just when I thought, there's no way this movie can keep up its level of humor from the first act, Pedro Pascal's character Javi is introduced, and it gets even better somehow. He's just so funny and endearing that at certain times in this movie, you completely forget he's supposed to be like this big hardened criminal. And at other times, you don't care just because he's so damn charming. And also there's this great little side plot in this movie where Javi is a potential up-and-coming filmmaker, and the two of them are trying to come up with a role for Nick to star in that just provides a ton of funny moments. Every single scene that these two share is comedic gold, with the highlight probably being when they drop LSD, drive into town, and then just become extremely paranoid of everybody around them. I had actual tears from laughing so much during this set piece. Who knew a wall could be so damn funny? And then my final positive with massive talent is it actually had a lot more heart than I was expecting. Like, no question the comedy's off the charts here, but this movie actually has a story to tell. A big portion of this movie deals with the fact that and by he I mean Nicolas Cage, hasn't always been the best father or husband, often choosing his career over his family. And even though it's pretty clear that he wants to connect with his daughter, he just goes about it in a selfish way, where he's trying to get her interested in the things that he loves, and never really meeting her halfway. And I think a really good example of this is early on in the movie, there's this scene where he's at his daughter's birthday party, and he gets a call from his agent telling him that he didn't get this role. And out of frustration, he kinda starts getting really drunk, and he kinda hijacks her party by playing the piano and becoming the center of attention. And don't get me wrong, it's hilarious, but there's also an undertone that's kinda heartbreaking, as you can see how upset this makes his daughter, that even on her big day, he still has to be like the star. But beyond that, I really only have like two mixed or negative things to say about massive talent. And the first, unfortunately, is all the stuff involving the CIA. Just every scene revolving around that storyline, aside from one moment that really puts me in mind of Leonardo DiCaprio taking too many Quaaludes in Wolf of Wall Street, where Nicolas Cage like accidentally drugs himself and has to stay awake. That's a great moment. But other than that, that storyline never really pulled me in, and it just kind of took away screen time from Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal. And personally, I kind of wish the espionage thing wasn't even in the film. I wish during the runtime they just focused on Cage and Pascal trying to come up with a movie idea, because that's when this movie was at its peak comedy. And then my other negative would be that entire third act, which to me was easily the weakest. And this is the point where it kind of turns more into a full-blown like action movie. And I know they did this on purpose, and I know I'm also very biased because I'm not the biggest fan of action movies to begin with.
Move this man!
But once they started introducing like the gun runners and his daughter gets kidnapped, this is the point where it starts to feel like a very cliched premise that I've seen 1,000 times before, compared to the first two acts that just felt so fresh and original. But overall, this movie is a must-watch for any fan of Nicolas Cage. It's hilarious, it's meta, self-aware humor done the right way. Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal have amazing comedic timing and chemistry while literally carrying this movie on their shoulders. And it is truly a celebration of his acting career, both good and bad. I'm gonna give The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent an 8.5 Bs out of 10, which could have been even higher if not for my issues with that third act.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast!
But that's gonna do it for my review of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. As always, please let me know what you thought of this movie down in the comments below. Did the meta humor work for you the same way it worked for me? Or did it feel like too much? Personally, this was one of my favorite comedies in the last couple of years, but you know I always love hearing different opinions. So go ahead and please leave those comments. And while I have you, me and a couple friends do a weekly pop culture podcast called Culture Shocked. The link for that will be down in this video's description, and you can give that a listen wherever you get your podcasts. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing right over here so you don't miss any future content. And to see some different stuff on my channel, I'm gonna go ahead and put up my Batman 2022 review here. And to see more of the video game side, you can see my top 5 Resident Evil games right over here. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Nicolas Cage.